Great. We could call to order the July 6th, 2023 Vision Zero Advisory Committee meeting on this hot morning. If you could call roll for a quorum, please.
At this time, I am only asking those VSAC members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Alternates, please also state your name if you are attending on behalf of a VSAC representative. Bruce Rosenzig.
This is Nell Chapman, participating for Bruce Rosenzweig.
Craig Pinder.
Here.
Ted Goodenough. Joan Olivia.
Here.
Joan Scaria.
Here, Samantha Maroney on behalf of Joanne Scuria.
Badi Nazar.
Here.
JC Barry.
Here.
David Willock.
Here.
Jean Matthews.
Casey Prankin on behalf of Jean Matthews.
Bruce Guyton. Michael Owens. Christian Santa Gonzalez.
Here.
Jermaine Swaby.
Here.
Eliza Hanson. Missy Barletto.
Here.
Tracy Phelps.
Here.
Stephanie Thoborn.
Here.
Claudette De Los Santos. We have a quorum, thank you.
Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, the following members are requesting VSAC permission to participate remotely. Michael Owens requested to attend virtually due to ongoing staffing shortages at the school district. Joan Olivia requested to attend virtually due to staffing shortages at the Lake Worth Community Redevelopment Agency. Nellie Chapman requested to attend virtually due to a scheduling conflict. Ted Goodenough requested to attend virtually due to transportation issues. Claudette De Los Santos requested to attend virtually due to medical reasons. And the following members are requesting to attend virtually but did not provide a reason. Christian Melendez Barrios.
Okay, so we have 6 members that are requesting to attend virtually. Do we have any objections to these folks attending virtually? No? Okay, so Ruth, will you please note their attendance, the 6 people? They are on the line, all of them? No?
Claudette
Okay.
De Los Santos is not on the line.
Claudette De Los Santos is not on the line. So that would be Michael Owens, Joan Olivia, Nell Chapman, Ted Goodenough, and Christian Melendez Barrios. Okay, so 5 members. Got it. Thank you. So moving on to the minutes from the June 8th VSAC meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes? I know I have a couple, but are there any other members that have changes to the minutes? No. Okay, a couple things. One, I went over these quickly, but if you could note when JC Barry came in, the vote went from 15 to 16 and it didn't show her coming in. And then the last item on the goals and objectives did not note my comment, which was my significant comment, but you got my other comment, which I thank you, was related to the inclusion of green infrastructure and being more resilient so that we don't have single-use entities, single-use items that could be for drainage as well as paths, biking, and those types of things. So those are my changes that I'm requesting. Can I get a motion with the changes?
I'll make motion.
Can I get a second? David?
I second.
Tracy, second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so we have, what's our vote? What's our number? Just wondering, because I like to keep tab. How many people are here? Do we have 15?
We have 10 people here and 5 online, so 15.
Okay, 15. Thank you. Okay, so the next item is regarding general public comments. So there are instructions on how to provide public comments in the agenda. Do we have any general comments that were received?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Okay, so comments from the board and the chair. I don't have any comments today, other than walking in this heat makes it really difficult for bicyclists and people taking transit, which means we need more trees. So just my comment. And it's days like today, you really tell the difference. And I remember when we were walking with Palm Tran, when we did our bike walk audit, I mean, those trees made a 20-degree difference in times like today. So infrastructure is important with trees. So does anybody else have any comments? No? All right, so we'll get moving. Our liaison report is next with Valentina Facus, and she's going to give us an update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope you all had a wonderful 4th of July. So first item on our liaison report, we have 3 new staff here at the TPA, very exciting. First is Jessica Lopez. She's our new procurement and contracts coordinator. Then here with me, I have Ruth Del Pino, our new executive assistant, and Dina Ligotino, our administrative secretary. So we're very excited to have them here on board with us. Next, as you can all recall from last month, we had a survey sent out for a bicycle survey. And for this past month, in June, we had a transit survey put out where we had 195 responses. Here on the screen here. Oops. Here on the screen, show you all the results for that survey. It's very telling that only 42% of the participants are over the age of 55, and all the others are between the ages of 25 through 54. So you can tell how usually the senior citizens are more prone to use transit, maybe because of a disability or whatever other case may be, whereas the younger population may not really choose to use transit for other purposes. Okay, next we have a safety pledge. I believe we still have it at the front if you haven't signed it already. This is to pledge to, instead of saying the word accident, to shift our mindset and to say the word crash, to crash, not an accident, and to pledge to be a safe driver. Next, the TPA will be hosting a performance measure and targets workshop August 17th with FHWA and FDOT. If you are interested in attending, you can register our website at palmbeachtpa.org/PM workshop. Next, we have our bicycle friendly designation. If your community, if your jurisdiction would be interested in applying for this designation, applications are due August 30th. And for more information, you can go to bikeleague.org/BFA. Next, the United States Department of Transportation has created a grant navigator tool. I know that finding grants can be a little tricky sometimes, so this tool could be very helpful in trying to find and apply for those grants. So for more information on that, you can visit the transportation.org/DOT navigator website. Next is the Safe Streets and Roads for All funding opportunity. You all may or may not be aware. The deadline to apply for that is July 10th, so it's coming up. Highly encourage you all to apply for that for a action plan if you have not done so already, or implementation grant. Next, we have the Promoting Resiliency Operations for Transformative, Efficient, and Cost Savings Transportation Grant Program that is also available at the FHWA website, and the deadline to apply is August 18th. And that concludes my liaison report.
Do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Does anybody have comments on Valentina's reports? No? Okay, so action items. And the next item is the TPA strategic plan, which identifies specific actions that the TPA and aims to achieve what it aims to achieve in the upcoming year. Andrew Euler will be presenting. Thanks, Andrew.
Morning, everyone. So this first action of two today is the upcoming strategic plan. Our Unified Planning Work Program is our 2-year budget of planning activities. Right now, we're operating under the fiscal year 23 to 24 Unified Planning Work Program. The strategic plan is really setting more of a focus and going a little above and beyond on some of the tasks on the Unified Planning Work Program. And so we adopt a new one every year. So going into this, I'm going to provide just some highlights from 2023, which we just finished up, and then talk about what the recommendations are for 2024. And then also provided here in person is our annual report that highlights what occurred in 2023. Also on the slide is additional information, a summary of what was in the annual report. This is available online at palmbeachtpa.org/annual report FY23. And it's also a link on the strategic plan website. So you can find this digitally on the website. But a few highlights, you'll see the construction projects going on within the county and ones that are under construction, ones that have been completed. It lists those out. We've had 6 municipalities in fiscal year 2023 adopt Vision Zero policies and resolutions, 16 proclamations for Florida Bicycle Month. There's 15 projects under construction in fiscal year 2023. There are TPA priorities, and we had 14 applications submitted for grant funding. So a lot of highlights throughout that document. And then going into the draft for the fiscal year 2024 strategic plan, this was already seen by the executive committee. So that is made up of 5 governing board members that meet on a few more detailed policy decisions. They've already met with this on June 27th and provided their recommendations. It was seen by the TAC yesterday, seen by you today, and it'll be seen by the Citizens Advisory Committee next week, and then the governing board for adoption here in July. I'm going to just highlight the changes for new actions for fiscal year 2024 as I go through the various goals. And it mirrors what you'll see in the Unified Planning Work Program. So the first goal is engage the public. And the first one to note is how we are assessing our social media engagement, switching to the amount of users reached. So 125,000 users reached. So those are unique people that see our materials, our media through our websites, both our website, Facebook, Instagram, so any of our social media engagement. Next is updating our About Us video. So we do currently have a TPA About Us video. It's a few years old. It has the older logos and branding. So that'll be updated, make it more current and provided on the website as a tool for everyone to learn about the TPA. Heading into plan the system. This is getting more into those planning activities. This is goal 2. The first one is ongoing. It's really just a quick change to the description, but it's still in essence the same outcome. Collaborate with partner agencies to create a countywide mobility vision and funding plan. And so we're continuing to work towards that mobility vision plan, both through a few of our consultants and then also through our long range transportation plan. That would be completed by the end of next year. Next is 2B, create formal process for selecting and conducting pedestrian bicycle safety field reviews. So last fiscal year in 23, we had a outcome for 5 locations to conduct bicycle and pedestrian field reviews. Those were completed. Our staff, suggested we formalize that process a little bit more and how we select and connect those. So we're working on trying to create a good practice on how we select those and what we can make those more effective into the coming year here. So we'll still be accomplishing those, but we're looking to create a formal process. Next is a new one that really builds off of our Vision Zero action plan, and that is a speed management action plan. And so with the speed management action plan, we have our identified high injury network corridors, right? Our most dangerous corridors within Palm Beach County. What this looks at the context of those roadways, what is an appropriate speed for those roadways, because typically there's a range, and identifying a target speed, and then coming up with factors that can influence speed out there. So effective ways to manage speed when it comes to both design, enforcement, education, etc. Next is goal 3, prioritize funding. The first one is revising our funding programs. You all are very familiar with the Transportation Alternatives Program. That one we have and are continuing forward with. Obviously, there may be some refinements with you all, but for our other funding programs, we're looking to potentially modify those as we update our long-range transportation plan. So it's a good time to do that based on new revenue sources. If there's a change in our goals, objectives, and measures and how we want to score. So this next round, we're looking to revise those funding programs, local initiatives, our state road modifications, major projects. Another major update would be our last one here, 3C for prioritized funding, which is to pursue discretionary grants for TPA priorities. So we have a list of priority projects, which you'll see in the next agenda item. But we're looking to do as staff is submit 1 grant application for discretionary grants for products on that list. Goal 4 is implement projects. First change here is 4A, identify resurfacing products to incorporate complete streets improvements, and to identify for 3 projects to be identified. So we currently work with FDOT and determining like products that are coming up. They let us know about upcoming resurfacing jobs in the next few years. We try as staff to work with our partners to see if there's any other additional improvements we can put out there. And that's what we're looking to do in this objective. Number 5 is collaborate with partners. The first change here is for 5C, and it's to create a modal transportation demand management policy. So we've had a lot of requests from jurisdictions about what would a transportation demand management policy look like? How do we implement that into our jurisdictions, our communities? And so looking to create a model policy, I said model policy for that. Next is to conduct site visits to learn more about partner agencies. So to conduct 2 site visits. We've had similar site visits in the past that have been successful and have been helpful for board members and committee members who've attended those. So looking to continue to do those site visits. Number 6 is administer the agency. And this is getting more into our operations of the agency. So the first change here is to update our accounting system. So implement a consolidated accounting system, looking to streamline some of the things that we can still get better at and be more effective on the accounting side. Next is to also streamline our interlocal agency services and benefits. Not to get too much in detail, but we currently, as an independent agency, we do have a few services that we have agreements with other agencies. For example, healthcare goes through our partner agency in Broward MPO. A lot of the money that's fronted to the TPA is through a few of our jurisdictions. So we're looking to find ways to make that a little more streamlined as well, and look for different additional benefits and services in this next coming year. Next is a training and succession plan. So with the outcome of a succession plan, so that was one of the ones that was brought up by our federal partners that would be good to have in place. Was a succession plan for the TPA staff. And then the last one, and this one doesn't really change too much, but it's to continue to provide the strategic plan and annual report. Okay, so that's all I have for those. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or have one of our staff who will be leading one of those actions answer them for us.
Ruth, are there any public comments?
No, Madam Chair, but I would like to report for the minutes. Bruce Skype has joined the meeting at 9:18 a.m.
Thank you. So now we'll go to the board comments body.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Andrew, for the presentation. I think it's a comment I made before. I know mobility, there is safety aspect, there is, travel time, and there is reliability. I think I didn't see the last two kind of part of your highlight, ensuring, improving travel times and improving reliability. I think there's more focus on safety, which I understand is a very important component, but the other two components, I believe, also are important.
Would you like me to respond?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Fadi. Sure, I think what you'll find in, especially when it comes to our strategic plan and our unified planning work program, it's going to be more focused on safety, right? So we're like a Vision Zero agency. So we've chosen to deliberately integrate safety in every single aspect of it. Obviously, something like travel time is still important. That will be part of our goals and objectives, and what we measure when it comes to the prioritization of projects. But from a sheer day-to-day, operations of our agency, we focus more on safety. So that's why you would see it more of a focus in our strategic plan. But travel time reliability is still important, and we're required to have a target for that from the federal government, and it will be in our LRTP, and we'll prioritize that.
Thank you. Mr. Goodenough?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm gonna, sorry, my computer's yelling at me. I'm gonna preface this with a short story. When I first started in the accessibility office in Boynton Beach, one of the first articles I read was about US trailways. And the quote from the ranger was, "Why do we have to make these accessible? Those people don't come here anyway." And let that sink in. My question is actually about the video you talked about us. Are you planning on having an ASL interpreter and or audio description?
If you don't mind, I'll have Melissa Murray, our public relations director, answer that.
Hi, Ted, it's Melissa. Thank you for bringing this up. I know we've talked about this before. That's definitely something that we can look into. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I'm going to make a note of that.
Thank you.
Okay. I had a question. It was on plan the system and create formal process for selecting and conducting. I'm just curious what prompted that. Is there more requests for it? And now that they're more competitive, or what's going on?
Sure. Good morning. Brian Rusher, Deputy Director of Multimodal. We have throughout the years conducted a series of walk audits in communities kind of as the needs have arisen. There is a pretty good demand across all of the different work programs that we have to evaluate and to target. So we have evaluations where we perform school hazardous walking conditions. We look at capital improvement programs for the major cities. We receive requests from our governing board. And so for us, it's almost like it's becoming its own work program where we really can identify a series of locations, rank the ones that would probably have the highest potential, meaning the likelihood for constructability and having project outcomes, which is really one of the things that we're focused on, especially in a multimodal way. So we're going to, with that in mind, and frankly, for this year and why we're choosing to do it this year is because we are going through our long-range transportation plan. We have our mobility vision that we want to establish for the future. So this is a kind of unique year and a unique position for us to be able to set a good course forward with a good process for identifying, selecting, and really prioritizing where we're going to put our time and staff effort in the future.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And then the other question I had was, under collaborate with partners, conduct site visits to learn from partner agencies. Can you give me some examples of what partner agencies, your other MPOs or?
Sure, sure. And Brian can correct me if I'm wrong on this one. For example, we recently completed an Austin peer exchange. So we had staff, elected officials, and I believe a few other county officials go to Austin on that peer exchange to see how their light rail system worked. And then we've also done ones in, I believe, Miami-Dade. So I believe that was the intent of this. But Brian, do you want to expand on that?
I think you actually hit it with Miami-Dade, Brian Rusher again. Really, the intent is to visit our peer agencies and our operators. So, for example, as Andrew was mentioning, we toured Miami-Dade County transit providers to learn about their electric bus systems. Recently, we conducted a series of mobile tours where we visited the airport, Brightline, Palm Tran, and port facilities last fiscal year. So we'll be doing more of that this coming year throughout the region and maybe throughout the rest of the state to learn about what's coming. Showing a lot of attention on autonomous vehicles and other kind of emerging technologies and trends in the transportation industry. So we'll be looking for providing more information on that in the future, but that's kind of the key, is to try to narrow down two that we'll pick for the future.
Okay. Thanks. Do we have any more questions or discussion on this item? Can I get a motion? Mr. Guyton made the motion. Get a second?
Second.
Craig, second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
No. Okay, there we go. It was unanimous. Next item is a recommendation for adoption of the fiscal year 2025 to 2029 list of priority projects. And Andrew is up again.
All right, thank you again. So this is for the upcoming fiscal year 2025 through 2029. And when I say upcoming, it's not until next year. So this would start in July. The next round of the Transportation Improvement Program would start, in October 1 of 2024. So this is a while away, but really this is the first part of the process when it comes to getting to our Transportation Improvement Program. And so what is the list of priority projects? This is actually not something that's required at the federal level. So all the metropolitan planning organizations in the nation don't do this, but it is required for each metropolitan planning organization in the state. So this is a state requirement. And what it is the MPOs outline what their priorities are for the next 5 years for federal and state funding. And so this upcoming one is going to be 25 through 29. If you remember back to last month, you had the second reading of the Transportation Improvement Program, and that was for fiscal year 24 through 28, which is going to be coming under operation in October this year. This is looking even further out the next year. So it takes time to get through that process. So what you're seeing in the list of priority projects are only those of the TPA's priorities. So this includes the state roads, major projects, it includes the local initiatives programs, and then it includes the Transportation Alternatives Program. And to get to this point in the process, from the list of priority projects and then carrying on all the way to the Transportation Improvement Program, it really starts with product development. So products are taken from the long range transportation plan, what is feasible to move up forward from that into a list of priority projects. It also includes the applications, call for products for our other programs. So local initiatives, transportation alternatives, those are vetted and ranked. And then those are put into the list of priority projects. So what you're seeing today is that list of priority projects that includes the state road modifications and major projects, the local initiatives, and the transportation alternatives in their order. With that list, once it's adopted by the governing board here in July, is given to the Department of Transportation. And so then DOT is looking at their other needs, both in our county, the district, and statewide. And they're assessing their own priorities and needs there. They're also assessing cost estimates. So there'll be updated cost estimates. And then they're looking at revenues. So how much revenue do they have in the coming 5 years? And then they're what they call rebalancing the work program. So that's their first step, is to figure out cost estimates, what is already in the work program, how can we make sure that still continues forward, and then what are the new priorities that we can put in from the metropolitan planning organizations like ourselves and other needs that they have as a state. So once they do all that, they provide a draft tentative work program, and that draft tentative work program is seen by the various communities, districts in the state. That occurs in October of this year. This actually is a shortened window based on the legislative cycle. So this committee and our other committees will not see that full draft tentative work program presented to you by FDOT in October. It'll come out in time for the board to see it. But what we're going to do is we're going to look through it very quickly as staff and provide our feedback to them for that board meeting. But it'll also be emailed to you all once we receive it. And then FDOT also has district-wide public meetings on the work program. In the end, the TPA can endorse that work program with requests for changes, additions, and deletions. And then with those requests, FDOT will try to work those in, and then they have their final version of a work program. And that's what we build the transportation improvement program off of. So very long process. This is all the one for, again, 25 through 29, but this is really that first start of it, getting our priorities to provide to FDOT. And in our priority list, we have the three main funding programs. We have our major products, state road modifications. Again, those are the ones from our long-range transportation plan. They also include some of those additional submittals we get annually that will be on state roadways. And this is primarily funded through state funds. So state gas taxes that are required to go towards state roadways. And so this is why most of those are done with state road funds. Next is the local initiatives program. That's one of our call for products using our federal aid funds that we receive here at the TPA. And then there's the transportation alternatives program, smaller subset of money, federal funds from the transportation alternatives, surface transportation federal funds, and those go towards the TA program. And so I'll go through a few highlights from the backup on those three programs. Now, I won't be highlighting every single priority that we have in there. I'm just going to be providing a few highlights for you that we felt were important. The first ones for the major product state road modifications, really enhancing our vision on the state roadway system. Roughly $20 million a year is what we would anticipate of state funds to go towards this. However, that really depends on revenue coming in. And then there's also depends on the other priorities in the state and in our district. And then cost estimates. Some of these are very large phases that you really don't just get 20 million per year. So a few highlights for this program and priorities. There's $389 million of funds needed overall in the priorities of the state road modifications program and the major products program. I'm just listing a few of the major ones at the top of the list. And you can see the total amount of funding that's still needed on this. So a pretty large amount still needed on some of these ones that have been on the list for a while. So top of the list, still there, State Road 7, 60th to Northlake, $87 million. And then we have the two sections of Atlantic Avenue, totaling close to $60 million in funds needed still. And then we have two products that came out of our US 1 studies in both West Palm Beach and in Boca Raton that are some big tickets as well. So that is in total of 389. There's still multiple other products in that needs list for a total of 390 million. A few highlights for these specifically on the state roads. We are requesting that, and this is in the resolution from last year, it'll be in the resolution this year. We request that the state try to use the state funds that are available for state roadways instead of the SU and CAR-U funding. And so what we mean by that is those are abbreviations. The SU is the surface transportation funds that we typically use for our local initiatives program. We get I believe like 24, 25 a year. And then carbon reduction funds, funding code CAR-U is another federal fund that we receive at the TPA level. And that's an additional one we'd like to use in other ways, not just on state roadways. There's a few major products in the state road list right now that have funds, the SU and CAR-U on there. So what we're trying to ask them is just to shift those off when they can. So we can use those more towards local initiatives or maybe even transportation alternatives. Next is to advance construction of Atlantic Avenue, east of Lyons Road to Florida's Turnpike to fiscal year 24. So this is a section, the western portion of this, of the Atlantic Ave products is from State Road 7 to Lyons. That one's already occurring in 2024. Speaking with FDOT, they are able to advance, hopefully they find the money for it, advance this section as well to fiscal year 2024, currently in 27. So those would go together. So that's another request we have in there for them, is to achieve that. Going into local initiatives program. These are other ones that are called for projects on the federal aid system. Around 22, it goes up to like 24, 25 a year, 5 million per project. And then these also go towards our vision here at the TPA. An example on the screen is a new one that was just completed this past year, Lowson Boulevard in Delray Beach. Charities Pathways there. Requests for local initiatives. The first part of the requests for the local initiatives program, you may remember from last year if you were here, we had a lot of the 2022 products that were priorities. They were unfunded in the Transportation Improvement Program. So those remained at the top of the list for this year. And so the first priorities are to get these funded. That's about $15 million, almost $16 million in funding towards the priorities already on the list from 2022. And then we had 8 new requests in 2023 applications, the ones that were just submitted, and those are also ranked in your backup. This is the ranking order for those in the local initiatives program, and it totals $23 million, $23.7 million. Just a few highlights for local initiatives. Total requests from both 2022 and 2023 applications is $42 million. Obviously, we don't expect to get that all program this next cycle, but trying to get most of those 2022, maybe some of the 23 program if we can. A few other additional highlights. One of the products that we've had on the list for a while is actually nearing completion is the quiet zones, safety improvements up in the northern part of Palm Beach County. Going through those site visits with the FRA and the locals, they found that some of the crossings in Lake Park still had additional improvements that needed to be made out there on their railroad crossings in order to have them apply to be in a quiet zone. And so that request is now at the top of the list to try to finish that out for Lake Park through using these SU funds. Next was another one that FDOT found money in an earlier year of the funding of SU funds that we use for local initiatives. And they may be able to accelerate the Palm Trend electric buses. That's currently priority 20-1. That's currently in fiscal year 2027, trying to accelerate that to an earlier year, maybe 24, 25. And in doing that, they're able to free up some funds in that outer year. And then one of the projects looking to be take that place, so that funding is Gardens Parkway project in Palm Beach Gardens. And that's one of those unfunded needs from 2022 lists that we're looking to get funded in an earlier year. So that's good to see if we can get that done through this work program. And then the one you're most familiar with, transportation alternatives, non-motorized infrastructure projects, goes towards pedestrian bicycle facilities, complete streets, available both on and off the federal aid system, around $5 million a year in federal funds, $1.5 million per project. And highlights, $6.5 million total in total requests. The 2023 products are the ones that you prioritized a few months ago. And so that is the order of your prioritization. And they're in that order in the backup for those provided projects. So that's 23-1 all the way to 23-5. That's those 5 projects. And then one addition to this one, they found that FDOT says there's a little bit of money available for additional funds at TA. And so one of those additional local initiatives products that were not funded last year looked like a good candidate for transportation alternatives funds. And that's one in Boca Raton. It's pedestrian facilities and bike facilities across, it's on Southwest 8th Street, but it also goes across a railroad track as well. So that one looking to try to fund through the Transportation Alternatives Program. And that'll be a joint effort with SFRTA and Boca Raton. Okay. And that's all I have for you. Obviously, a lot of projects. There's even more in the backup, but be happy to answer any questions about the projects and the priorities.
Thanks, Andrew. Are there any public comments, Ruth?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Guyton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question on the major projects / state road modifications. You indicated that there were funds still needed in most of the projects. My first question is, what is the game plan to obtain additional funds?
Sure. So it's a good question. Right, because right now that list is pretty backlogged, as you can see, $389 million. Depending on the products, there might be different game plans. You know, some of these are, for example, one of the major ones, I think well over 100 million of that is the Tri-Rail extension up to Jupiter. So that's one that's sort of taking time to get going until we have an access fee and dedicated operations and maintenance on that one. So that one will be hanging out for a while until we find out a local dedicated funding source, right? So that one, once available, we can pursue discretionary grants. A lot of these discretionary grants at the federal level are more towards something like major transit investments. However, there are additional discretionary grants out there when it comes to environmental ones, protect ones we mentioned in our Basin report. So we may be able to pursue, depending on their eligibility, a few of these for those. I would say that we tackled it in a variety of ways. Atlantic Avenue, for example, we've requested a few, we've requested through some of the statewide discretionary programs that are more aligned with roadway capacity. The US 1 ones, there's a lot of those in the list. Those might be good ones to go after for more safety related or complete streets grants. So there are discretionary grants out there that we need to pursue. We mentioned last action item in the strategic plan about going after discretionary grants. So that's how we're trying to tackle that.
Okay, 2 more quick questions. Has there been any consideration to go after any of the infrastructure funds at the federal level that are now available?
Yep. So most, when I'm talking about discretionary grants, most of those are the ones that are infrastructure funds available at the federal level. So yes, there is, discussion on how we can approach that.
Okay.
As long as they're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. My last question is, are any of those projects, would it be feasible to do portions of the project or in phases?
That's a good question too. The FDOT does consider that a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot to factor in with maintenance of traffic and how it all aligns in the end, but they do consider that. So a good example of that is the one I mentioned, the advancement of Atlantic Avenue from Lyons Road to Florida's Turnpike. And so if you're familiar with these projects for Atlantic Avenue, it was 2 main sections originally in our long range plan. It was the State Road 7s to, I believe, Lyons or Jog, and then Jog, or State Road 7s to Lyons and Lyons to Jog. And it was just 2 projects. That product has actually been broken out by FDOT into, I believe, 3 or 4 projects now. The reason being, some of these sections require right of way, some don't. So if they have the ability to break some things up to advance them on their own, they will. And that's a good example there of Atlantic Avenue. So that's one where it didn't require right of way. It's a pretty easy segment to accomplish. And so they're hoping to do it with that western portion. So AFDOT probably makes more of those decisions than we do when it comes to how products can be broken up. But there is potentially possibility of that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Jeremy.
All right, good morning, everyone. In a previous meeting, I stated the stance of City of West Palm Beach with regards to the widening and extension of State Road 7, which will abut our preserve area and the possible effects that it may have on our water source. So with relation to that specific aspect, we are opposing that portion of the document.
Okay. Tracy.
I'm interested in the scoring of the local districts.
I apologize, Tracy. Do you mind put the
Okay. Still trying to wake up. I'm interested in the scoring for the local initiatives projects. I have no problem with the list and the rankings. I'm just trying to figure out how many points we lost because of a certain situation. How much in that scoring, how many points is allotted to bicycle safety?
bicycle safety specifically?
Yeah.
Sure. 1 second.
Tracy, are you talking about what page are you
Local
talking?
initiatives.
Local initiative.
I don't have the product pulled up, the scoring specifically for that one. But when we talk about bicycle safety, it's very similar to the Transportation Alternatives Program in that you get points for the length of your facilities, right? So if you're putting in bicycle or pedestrian facilities, you get points based on the type of facility, and then there's a multiplier by your mileage, right? So there's a lot of points for that. That can total up to 20 points of the 100. And then a few other ones that would be towards safety is product improves non-motorized facilities at an interchange, bridge, or railroad crossing. That's 5 points. And then the last one I believe is related to our Vision Zero action plan. So it says project improves lighting, pedestrian, bike facilities in a high crash, dark unlit ped bike corridor listed in the Vision Zero action plan, and you get 5 points. So in total, towards safety, that's probably around 30 or 40.
Okay, just specific, say 30 intersections adding green bike lanes.
30 intersections adding green bike lanes would be most likely capping you at not many points, probably 5 points for like a non-motorized facility at a interchange.
Okay, that's all I needed to hear.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, Body.
Yeah, it's a quick question I've been asked before. Why the LI project takes so long? Is there a way in the future maybe to reduce it by a year or so?
Mhm. Very good question, Fadi. Yeah, we continue to work with AFDOT on how to accelerate projects. Typically, they want to, for the majority of funds, except for transportation alternatives, really, AFDOT is going to be programming the newer funds in the outer fifth year, right? So we've explored ways in the past about trying to accelerate. It's still been difficult trying to get that done. So I don't really have a good answer for you on that. Right now, it's AFDOT still programs in the new fifth year for those funds. And I would say the reason why we've struggled with that, the main reason is that the acceleration of products can be difficult because locals may not be ready for that acceleration through the federal process. Somebody like the county may be able to take that on, but for the most part, trying to accelerate a project by a year, if you're on year 5 and you go to year 4, that might be possible for locals. But if we try to move construction up too quickly, they haven't really started design, right? And so there's a lot of time in the design process, from my understanding. So that's been one of the bigger struggles is, would locals be ready to accelerate if the money came available earlier?
I had one question. What is the deadline to get on the priority list? If, you know, hypothetically, a municipality was trying to get a project funded
Sure.
for this round?
Mhm. That would be, it's already passed for all those programs. We had the applications that were, we believe we gave the draft list to AFDOT in February, and they're already starting to build that. So that timeline has already passed. The submittals are in February, and then it's vetted in the past few months. So that time has already passed. And there's also a bunch of other programs that are available to the counties and the locals that the state has. I'm thinking of things like the County Incentive Grant Program. Those already have application deadlines. I'm sure they've already passed as well. So getting on this list now would probably be pretty difficult. Yeah. For Central, when's that? Okay. Is that deadline passed yet? Okay. Brian mentioned one to me, Sun Trail, which is the shared use network of trails, which is a state funding source. And it sounds like their deadline is by October. So if a municipality was applying for Sun Trail funds and we needed to amend our list to do that, I think that'd be fine. To
Okay,
do something like
great.
that.
Thanks.
It'd be more difficult if you were trying to add a TA project or.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, where it's more discretionary. Well, it is still discretionary.
And you have already prioritized all those. That'd be tough.
Yeah,
Sun Trail, we haven't prioritized, any specific priority list for that. So
okay. All right. Is there anybody else that has any comments? Can I get a motion for adoption of the fiscal year 2025 to 2029 list of priority projects? Body proposes the motion, and Mr. Guyton second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Okay,
Aye.
that's West Palm Beach, nay. Was there another nay? Did I hear another nay?
Yeah, Ted, nay.
Oh,
Just
Mr. Good enough.
curious,
Okay.
Ted. Yep.
2 dissenting votes.
I'm sorry, Chair. We need a reasoning as to why he's opposing.
Mr.
Me?
Good enough,
Shared use paths, I just can't support them.
shared use path, sorry.
Shared use paths.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right,
And Jermaine, I think you already stated due to State Road 7. All right, thank you.
okay. Great. Okay, so then we're on to item number 3, which is information items, and there are none. And I think that then we're on to administrative items. Items 4A through 4C are also informational, and there won't be any staff presentations unless there are any public comments or questions from the board. Are there any? No? Nice. Oh, wow. I think this is a record, 10 o'clock. I know our next meeting, does it say when our next meeting is? Are we not September? So no August meeting. It's great to hear because it's going to be hot, really hot. So we'll see everybody in September.
No August meeting, but please be prepared for the September meeting, please. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.